Hi, Kate. Hey, can you hear me now? Okay, it looks like Amy can hear me. We'll just wait another minute or so because we are expecting some more people.
Yeah. Hi, Caitlin. How are you this afternoon?
Yeah, good. How are you? Love the pink.
Thank you very much. So let's get started.
Okay.
Thank you all for joining us today. We are here with Co-op Cincy and Ellen Vera to talk about employee ownership if you're thinking about exiting or as you consider exiting your business. It's one of multiple exit strategies that you can have. My name's Kate Reiner, and I'm the president of Sunbelt Business Advisors. And we're going to kick it off with a couple words from Caitlin and the DRMA.
Yes, awesome. Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Ellen. Just welcoming everyone for joining us today. I'm Caitlin Quellhorst, Program Manager at DRMA. We're excited to have this webinar offered by Sunbelt, one of our great members. Just a couple housekeeping items. Your audio and video are turned off, so you can feel free to use the Q&A option. Also, that this webinar will be recorded. And then lastly, we've allotted 30 minutes, but you're welcome to hang around if you have any questions afterwards. So easy enough. Hand it over to Kate and Ellen. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Let's see. So I'm Kate Reiner. I'm the president of Sunbelt Business Advisors of Southwest Ohio. Ellen, do you want to introduce yourself quickly and who you are with Co-op Cincy?
Yes. Afternoon, everybody. Ellen Vera, co-founder, co-director of Co-op Cincy. I've been doing this for about 14 years and just really excited to be with you all today. We were supposed to have my colleague Chris Bennett with us as well, but he has some sick kiddos at home. So you just get to hang out with me. So excited to be here.
Thanks, Ellen. All right, so things that we're going to talk about today are current market conditions. And then from Co-op Cincy, we'll be talking about preserving your legacy and the benefits of selling your business to your employees. And then we'll go over some questions. So current market condition, it's still a seller's market out there, which is a great thing. And that means as a seller, you have options. So it's important to think about not just if you want the biggest payday possible, which is fine, but also what you want your legacy to be. And one of those ways that you can really help to ensure your legacy moves forward is employee ownership. Obviously, there are other options which are selling to a third party, private equity, strategic buyers. Today, we're just going to be focusing on the employee ownership aspect of it, though. And then another, in today's market, it's less challenging today, but it's less about determining the value of the business and more understanding the value. So businesses range in value greatly, especially when you get over $500,000 in EBITDA to $1 million in EBITDA to $2 million in EBITDA. The multiple on the cash flow really can be affected by how large your company is. So if we end up talking about multiples, that's just something to keep in mind, that we're going to be talking about multiples for companies that are under the $1 million mark. And then obviously, as all of you know that are on here, there are workforce challenges, and there have been workforce challenges for a long time. And the DRMA is doing a great job to help bring new interest into manufacturing and help develop that workforce. So I am going to turn it over to Ellen now, and she is going to talk about Co-op Cincy, their mission, what the Business Legacy Fund is. And if you give me just a second, I'm going to make her the host so that she doesn't have to keep asking me to move the slides for her. So there we go. Ellen, it is all you.
Awesome, thank you. And I'm just trying to make it so you guys can see this as an actual presentation. So give me 1 second, right there. Maybe. Here we go. Okay, can everybody see that okay? Oh, great, okay. Well, thank you guys all for taking your lunch hour to hang with us today. Again, I'm Ellen Vera with Co-op Cincy, and we're really going to talk about what Kate just mentioned. So how do you preserve your legacy through kind of selling to your workers, and kind of what are the benefits around that? So just to kind of set the stage, so who is Co-op Cincy? We're a nonprofit cooperative business incubator, been around since 2011. Currently have 14 worker-owned businesses that are in our network. We also house a multi-million-dollar loan fund that can help facilitate a lot of these transitions. So when you kind of get to that question, well, I'd love to sell to my employees, but how are they going to buy it? Where are they going to get the money? Well, excitingly, we have a lot of resources in terms of capital to help with that. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later. Kind of what our agenda is today, what we're going to be covering. So what is employee ownership? Really get us kind of a grounding in that. What are its benefits? How do you know if this is right for you in terms of for your business? And we're going to meet some employee-owned companies and kind of learn a little bit more, about kind of where you guys can find out more resources for this. We're going to have plenty of time for question and answer. So please keep those questions ready for that point. Okay. So what is employee ownership? Employee ownership is a powerful business model that unlocks countless opportunities to take your business, your employees, and your community to the next level. It has been shown through countless of studies that employee-owned businesses grow faster than their traditional business counterparts. Their employees are more satisfied, and their communities really benefit because these businesses really stay local and help build the local community. What are the different types of employee ownership options? There are 3 main types that we typically see in the market. So one that most people are familiar with is an employee stock ownership plan. We also have worker-owned cooperatives, which here in Ohio are really thriving, and we have some great laws around that. And then we also have employee ownership trusts. So what is a little bit of the differences if you look at these 3 different options? So typically when we look at that employee stock ownership plan, they're for a little bit larger company. So, there's no kind of ask line like that, bare minimum, but this is what we would typically see in terms of when does that kind of an ESOP make sense. So usually it's 40 to 50 plus employees, at least $2 million in revenue. Some of the benefits around it is that there's really no cost to employees. They can participate as soon as the company decides to, become employee owned through an employee stock ownership plan. You can really see some great tax benefits for the seller, the employees, and the business. Worker cooperatives, it really works for any size business, no matter how kind of large or small. The employees do have a small financial buy-in to kind of show that skin in the game, but it's usually not prohibitive. It's something that kind of is jointly decided together, just to really make sure that there's that commitment. But at the same time, we want folks to be able to participate. So not so high that it's too much for that. It's definitely a lower cost in terms of setup and administrative. So it can be, again, more accessible to lots of different types of companies. And you also see some good tax benefits for the seller and for the business. And then we also have employee ownership trusts. These are a little bit newer in the United States, but the nice thing about these is that they're very flexible in structure. They're really designed to meet the needs of the business and the owner. Again, free for employees, has lower setup and administrative costs, but still definitely higher than worker-owned cooperatives. And you don't quite see the same tax benefits that we could speak at length about because they're just not as kind of recognized by the law. So why consider employee ownership? Well, employee ownership provides exit opportunities. So as many of us know, 78% of small business owners say that selling their business is their retirement plan, but only 20% of businesses that are put on the market actually sell. So selling your business to your employees really ensures that you can get a competitive value for your life's work when you exit your business. So this is not about charity. This is about getting a fair market value for your company. Employee ownership also creates enduring organizations. So employee ownership means that your business will live on long after you're off, into the sunset, right, enjoying retirement. But that what you've built, what you've spent so much time and blood, sweat, and tears building is going to remain, and it's going to remain very true to kind of what you built. So you're going to be preserving that legacy because you're reinvesting in the folks that have helped you build that legacy. And this usually means better business, higher sales, and lasting customers. Employee ownership also enables enterprise optimization. So employee ownership is a tool to improve business operations and productivity. So again, studies show that employee-owned businesses grow 2% more year over year than their traditional counterparts. In addition, employee owners feel a sense of ownership and accountability, which is an incentive for them to stay longer and perform better. They're getting to share a piece of the pie of this, right? We also see that employee-owned companies are excellent operations. So you're rewarding this team that's helped you build your business. These employee owners are not just focused on just, punching the clock, getting the job done, but also take more of a longer term view of the company's success. And they tend to have kind of more of an entrepreneurial kind of point of view and are really looking for ways that they can help kind of, contribute and improve that bottom line. Excitingly, employee ownership also creates more equitable outcomes. So according to the Harvard Business Review, the richest 10% of Americans own 90% of businesses. This disparity is leading to more businesses considering their role and how they think about closing the wage and wealth gap. So employee ownership gives you a way to kind of close, help close that income and wage gap for your employees and your communities. We all know the benefits of ownership, and broadening that in our communities can have really, exciting benefits for all. So, now we know a little bit more about employee ownership. How do you know if this is right for you and your business? Here are some questions to think about. So, first off, do you need a succession plan? Sometimes we hear as soon as you open that business, you should already be thinking about succession. So hopefully that answer is yes. Do you care about maintaining your legacy? Do you care about, this business continuing to look somewhat similar to what you kind of built over time? You want to broaden responsibilities and engage your employees more? There's definitely a way to get them really engaged and get them really thinking about, how do I make this business stronger? How do I do this better? How do I serve our clients in a higher quality way? Do you have workers in your business that would be interested in stepping up into these rights and responsibilities of ownership? We know this is not for everybody, but are there folks within your business that you can kind of see that, hey, maybe they would be interested in stepping into some more responsibilities and being a part of the ownership team? And lastly, do you want to receive a fair market value for the sale of your business? Again, this is not about charity. These are about, getting a fair price for your business, for all the work that you've put in, really valuing that and getting a competitive market price.
Hey, Ellen.
So now we're going to meet a few.
Question back to, do you have workers in your business that would be interested in stepping up? So is it the entire employee base that has to be interested? Is it just one? How many employees need to have that potential interest?
Sure. So no, it does not need to be all your workers in your business. And typically it's not. I would say, depending on which type of employee ownership you're going for. So in an ESOP, everyone ends up becoming a member of the plan, of the ESOP plan. But that doesn't mean that everybody's taking on kind of the role of ownership. But definitely within a worker co-op, it is, you can have as small as a group of like 2 or 3 that really want to do this to kind of get it started, that still have the opportunity for other workers if they want to join. But yeah, it can be a small group that really say, okay, like I'm ready for this. And we know that not everybody will be. So great question, Kate. Thanks for asking that. It's not everybody in the workforce that has to be like, okay, I'm going to become an owner. Any other questions? Okay. Well, so now we're going to just, kind of meet a few of these worker-owned firms here and around the country. I just like to kind of show the gamut, because this is not about one specific, it's not, you don't only find it in one specific industry. It really runs across the gamut. So we have Isthmus Engineering in Madison, Wisconsin, with over 60 employees. Back in the 1980s, they transitioned to worker ownership. We have the Surface Chemists in Florida that have 25 employees. I think it was around 2016 that they became worker-owned. We have a kind of food and ice cream truck out of in Baltimore. They have about 10 employees. They just became worker-owned in 2020. We have once again Nut Butter, which is a Democratic ESOP in New York with 80 employees. Also, I think about 10 years ago, they transitioned over. The landscaping business called Yard and Half in in Massachusetts with 35 employees. They also transitioned in around 2020. And Berry Insulation right here in Cleveland, Ohio, with 15 employees. So it runs the whole gamut. And right here in Cincinnati, one of the most recent ones that we helped to transition was a child care center called Shine that transitioned in 2022. It was just a really great story of a wonderful woman who had built this beautiful child care business, but she was ready to kind of move on to that next kind of phase in life. She wanted to go back and get her degree and become a psychologist, but she didn't want to close down this amazing center that's nature-based, Montessori, just does amazing things. And so she reached out and we figured out the kind of how to help her kind of structure that and sell to her workers. And now they're thriving as a part of our network. Employee ownership really allows us to explore our options. And so, we would just encourage everybody on the call and anybody who might be thinking about this to reach out to, a qualified employee ownership expert that can help you kind of learn and figure out if this is the right thing for you. So here, we've got links here. I'm sure we'll send out the deck to those who are on. But, we would be happy to just have a free consultation and chat about it if you have any interest or questions about it at all. Just in general, just to give kind of a little bit of a roadmap of what this typically looks like. So this is the general process, but essentially, typically we kind of sit down with that owner. We really think about, okay, does this meet the goals, the desires, what you're trying to achieve? It says answers are yes. It's a lot of those things that we listed before, like, do you care about your legacy? Do you have folks within your business who might be interested in stepping up? Then we kind of begin that assessment of feasibility. So essentially kind of doing that back of the napkin valuation, really understanding, okay, what is the value of your business? Can we get to a kind of the same page of what that looks like and kind of set up a potential deal structure? If everything, again, is a go, then we would craft that plan, help to build out kind of what's that transition plan looks like. And then we would help kind of paper and finalize that deal. So excitingly, through Co-op Cincy, we're a part of a $56 million loan fund that can help finance these deals, does not require personal guarantees, does not, require workers to, sign on their house. So we've got, lots of resources out there can help make these deals happen. And then once that deal closes, then we really work to help kind of provide wraparound technical assistance to help create that culture of worker ownership. So we don't just kind of leave them off on their own after they take over. We want to really nurture, this legacy that you build in this business and keep it going strong. And so we provide that wraparound TA.
Ellen, can you talk a little bit more about kind of what the management training is, that the creating that culture afterwards, and if somebody doesn't have a person that can step into that GM role? So a couple things. One, the current owner can do this now, even if they're not looking to actually exit the business for 3 to 5 years. They can be the GM and then train up the person behind them. If they have employees that are interested in the ownership, but they don't have maybe that GM level of experience that might be necessary for that role, How can you help with that?
Sure. So yes, so I thank you for bringing up those points, Kate. I mean, so I think the exciting thing, especially kind of the worker co-op model, is it is very flexible. So, and we are always really excited when an owner does want to stay on for a longer period of time because there's so much, knowledge and relationships, and it takes a while, right, to really try and train folks up into that. So we're always, interested in kind of exploring what role do you want to take? Do you want to stay on, and can be very flexible about what that looks like in that timeline. So that is definitely, one key piece. Sorry, what's your second question there, Kate?
Oh yeah, I did throw a lot in there. And then so you guys
Kind of
also
what is
have
the training like?
training. Yeah.
Yeah. In the cases, so sometimes what we find as we're working with business owners is they don't feel like maybe they have that person within internally that can step up into that general manager role. And so, we work very hard to kind of have a bench of folks, professional managers who've been trained in, kind of this type of management of worker ownership that can come in when it makes sense to kind of help kind of lead that transition as we continue to train people up. So, we're very, wanting to figure out how do we make this work? How do we make sure we're, again, preserving that legacy, keeping this business strong, and allowing that owner to kind of step out. But we know that that's not always, especially in these smaller businesses, they don't always have that person next in line who's going to be able to take on some of those higher management roles. So we do have, options, we can try to help, work with them to make that happen.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. I guess the only other thing I would just kind of say in terms of what that technical assistance looks like. So, we typically are working with these businesses weekly to bi-weekly on kind of their strategy as a company, on creating that internal culture. We help them facilitate team meetings to really help build out that financial and business literacy amongst their workers. Really kind of understand communication and conflict management skills, all those pieces. So again, we want everybody to be able to succeed for the long term. So, just in general, kind of a recap of the kind of what Co-op Cincy can provide for these types of transactions. So we can provide funding, again, that wraparound technical assistance support, building that culture, and just training for everybody involved, training for all the folks who are wanting to kind of figure out how to make this deal come together, and then also training after the deal happens. So that is kind of what we do and who we are. So yes, I think now it's time for, question and answer if there's any questions out there or anything else, Kate, that you feel like would be helpful for the audience.
We'll see if anybody pops in with additional questions. I would say another something that you didn't go over today that I really like the background on is Spain and how this all got started.
Yeah, I love telling this part of the story. Just didn't know if we would have time. But yeah, so kind of the inspiration for Co-op Cincy, kind of how we got started and kind of on this journey around employee ownership was based on the most successful group of worker-owned businesses in the world out of the northeast region of Spain, in the Basque region. And they started over almost 70 years ago now, after the Civil War in Spain, in a very, war-torn, kind of divided, decimated area. They had fought against the dictator Franco and therefore, been cut off to all forms of aid and infrastructure. And in this kind of small town, kind of the people got together and said, okay, well, we either have to rebuild our economy or we're all going to have to go other places because we won't be able to support our families. And so they started to kind of rebuild that social safety net and started creating businesses in this way where, democratically owned. And within about 25 to 30 years, they went from over 50% levels of unemployment in the region to full employment in the region. And they now have over 80,000 people employed, over 100 different cooperative businesses, and everything from advanced manufacturing to, higher education, to, large scale retail, grocery stores. They have their own bank, their own university, and just have really been able to create just a thriving community. They kind of rank in the world as one of the top, kind of regions in the world in terms of quality of life. And it's all been as a kind of coming out of this broadening of ownership and the benefits of ownership. So that's really what's inspired, Co-op Cincy. I was sharing the other night with Kate that we took 40 folks from our region just to go to see what they've been able to accomplish there just last year, because it's just wonderful. And so that's, for all of us, it's like, that's the type of, community I want to build. And so that's what we're working to do is, create an economy that works for all by really broadening ownership in our region.
Thanks, Ellen. So I know we don't have any questions from the audience, but I will ask you a couple more. When you guys are looking, in full disclosure, I should have said this at the beginning. My relationship with Co-op Cincy is they are one of my clients. They're a buy-side client for me. So we help people buy and sell small to medium-sized businesses. And traditionally, we do a lot of sell-side work where we represent the sellers. But in this case, Co-op Cincy has hired us to help them find businesses that might be interested in the employee ownership route. So just to put that out there. But when you're looking at businesses, when we're bringing you businesses to look at, what are some of those parameters that you're looking for, whether it's number of employees, revenue, cash flow, industry, obviously, because we're here, manufacturing is one of them. But I know that we've got some advisors on here that might have other industries that they also represent. So who do you want to talk to?
Yeah. So when we're out there, we're super excited to partner with great organizations on this call, because we really want the word to get out there. We really feel like this is just a really kind of little known business model, and people don't realize that this is an option. But the kind of businesses that we're looking for are businesses where that owner really they care about their legacy. It's not only about getting the highest price for the business. I mean, definitely getting a good price, but that they care about kind of who's in their business. They care about kind of the long term of where their business is going. We look for businesses that are, doing well financially, at least, they're solid, right? So this is not about, typically a rescue kind of fund or something like that. It's, we want this to be a good investment for the workers. That's one that's going to go out of business in just a couple of years. We also really look for places that hopefully have lower turnover, right? We want to see a group of workers that have been there at least for a little while and, are kind of there for the long term. They're going to be, interested in digging in because they see themselves there, longer term. And, in general, I mean, we are very excited, about businesses that, are, million plus in revenue up to maybe about, I would say 10, 15 million is kind of where our sweet spot is right now, but we are willing to look at businesses that are a little smaller than that. We're looking at industries, definitely manufacturing, as you mentioned. We're so excited about kind of that kind of family sustaining jobs that can come out of manufacturing. But we're also really interested in construction. We're interested in kind of food manufacturing, industrial services, and also the care economy as well. Those are kind of our main, I would say, pillars that we're really, kind of drilling down on. But we will talk to any business owner who has a solid business, who cares about their workers, and really wants to try and figure out a way to move forward to sell to their employees. So,
Great, thanks, Ellen. Does anybody else out there have any questions? If you're interested in staying on, I can keep shooting off questions for Ellen, if that's helpful. Otherwise, I know we hit the 12:30 mark, so happy to also end it here. But while we're waiting on someone to respond to that, will you tell us a little bit about, I know you talked a little bit about the daycare, which is fantastic because, I mean, as a working mom, the daycare there's a lot there that, there's just a lot there to unpack. So the more daycares that we have, I feel like, and especially getting those employees kind of leveled up is important. But other successes you've had in the area, or that the funds had in the area?
Sure, yeah. So I mentioned, those 14 different businesses here in the greater Cincinnati area. But we have everything from a solar and insulation residential company called Sustainergy that has been with the network since 2014. We have a farm and food hub that distributes local food, works with local farmers, local growers, and provides a weekly harvest box called Our Harvest. We have a residential cleaning service that, employs lots of immigrants in our area and really helps a lot of these women to have good family sustaining jobs. I'm trying to go through, we have a composting business, we have a massage business. We also just recently did a deal up in Cleveland with a wood manufacturing business. So it's a pretty broad range. Like I said, this is really not a business model that only works in a certain industry. It really is more of a, kind of a governance model for how you run your business. It's definitely been, I think some of the things that I really see from it that are really exciting is just the way that it really can, change employees' lives of being able to kind of take on more leadership opportunities, professional development opportunities, but also have access to some of that profit sharing with all the work that they do every day. Being able to kind of have a little bonus right at the end of the year that goes back into their pockets. It's just so motivating.
Thanks, Ellen. And thank you so much for being on today. I think we'll wrap it up. DRMA has our contact information, but also feel free to reach out to ellen@coopcincy.org, and you can reach out to me at cavereiner@sunbeltnetwork.com. And then if you've got any additional questions, or if there's anything, any ways that we can be helpful to you, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. And Caitlin, do you have anything you want to add?
Just was going to thank everyone for attending and thank you both for presenting. And we'll share the recording of this with all the registrants.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.